Good morning. Good morning to you, you. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Good morning to you. And many more, and many more, and many more. Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome, welcome, welcome to Daring Dialogue Season 18. This is the start of a brand new season, and I'm your host today, Shantae Charles. We are in our Black Table Talk edition, and this is a new time that we are showing up on our social media platforms. We're going to be coming Monday through Friday around 10 a.m. We'll try to be no later than 10:10, but around 10 o'clock. And this is a 45-minute to 1 hour podcast, sometimes a little shorter than that, sometimes a little longer if we have time. But I want to thank you for joining us. There is a lot on the docket. I'm going to be really honest with you and say, I am tired. And when I say tired, I don't mean physically tired. I mean deep soul tiredness at what I see happening in the world. If you are a person who is what they might call hyper empathetic, or you are a person who feels the emotions of other people, you are probably in sensory overload right now. So if that's you out there, hello, good morning. I sympathize with you because there is a lot happening in the world. And those of us, again, who feel it more than others, we sense the feelings and the energy more of others. It can be an overload. You can be trying to figure out, is this me feeling this way, or am I picking up and taking in the energy that I feel around me? And so it's really important in this moment to separate how you are feeling from what you are feeling externally in your environment and what's coming your way. So again, yes, a lot of people right now are in sensory overload. It's not necessarily that they're depressed. It's literally that you are feeling the emotions, you're feeling the turmoil, you're feeling the energy of everything that's going on. And for some people, they can't get out of bed today. Some people were feeling that way starting last week. Some people started feeling it around this weekend. And of course, what happened on Sunday did not help the situation at all. All right. And so, what do we do here? This is a read aloud podcast. I may not be reading today because I have just so much that I just need to verbally get out and verbalize. I am neurodivergent. I don't try to hide that on this platform. Some days I am more chipper than other days. Today is not one of those days. And so what you see is what you get. I am who I am all the time. So those of you who know me in real life, or who have met me in real life, IRL, know that this is who I am. All right. I do, however, use some words to help us get around the algorithm here, because we know that depending on the words that you use, Meta can either push you down in the algorithm so people don't see your videos at all, or they can elevate you in the algorithm. And sometimes some of the words that are used trigger bots and trolls, so we don't use them on this platform. Okay. So that is just an understanding of how algorithms work, how Meta works to hide and minimize content creators like myself or who look like myself. So as I was thinking over the weekend, I wanted to first of all say happy National Library Week. I served as a school librarian in my first teaching job, and that was for 5 years. And so, shout out to the school librarians. Ha, we need you. We need you. We need you. um, I also served as a librarian and research assistant for a high school for about 2.5 years. So, shout out to all of the librarian assistants who help librarians get things done. You are so needed in this hour. Shout out to our public librarians. Shout out to our cultural and social librarians. I want to encourage you this week to visit your local library. At least try to do it once this week because it is National Librarian Week. If you can't visit, try to use the Libby app or some of these other apps where you can check out books, check out an ebook, check out a library book. Support your local libraries. It means a lot. At a time where we have the banning of books, at a time where we have lots of disinformation and misinformation, um, I rely heavily on librarians, or I need to find a specific book on a topic. I call my local library and I ask, hey, I have this topic and I need to figure out what books you all have on this topic. They have been helpful in just giving me a list of books. They've been helpful in picking the books out for me. Some of the books I tend to use my library first to get an idea of the book. I will pre-read it. I'll read the cover, the captions, maybe the first chapter. And then if that book matches what I'm looking for, I will go and purchase the book itself. So shout out to the authors who have to connect to libraries. Okay. Couple of books I want to bring to your attention before I get into some other things I want to share. Um, I've read a lot of James Cone's work. I've read a lot of his work on my podcast. We've read The Cross and the Lynching Tree out loud here on the podcast. We have read his Liberation Theology, his seminal text on it. But I did not know until recently that James Cone had covered Martin and Malcolm. One time I was in one of my prayer and meditative moments, and I heard the creator say that Malcolm, Martin, and Medgar's work was not completed and that it needed to be completed. And so when I found out that James Cone had written on Malcolm and Martin together, I was like, oh, yeah, I will be picking this up and grabbing it for my Theology Thursdays. So, in case you didn't know, a lot of people are talking about liberation. A lot of people are talking about liberation frameworks. Last week, I had a conversation with somebody right here on the page that was talking about how the Catholics had a liberation movement. And I told them, I said, well, more than likely that movement came out of the Black church. And they did a little bit more digging. We did a little bit more digging together and come to find out that was absolutely where it came from. But again, if you don't know who James Cone is, pick up his work, get to reading. Um, if you are talking about liberation, especially in the spiritual context, read James Cone's work. He is sort of known as the godfather of liberation theology. A lot of people use the frameworks or use some of the terminology without crediting James Cone. So please go get his work. All right. I've also been increasing my knowledge and understanding of plants and trees and gardening and all of those good things. And I came across this book. I did preview it, but I think that I think it's going to be a good read, and we might add this to our Friday readings. It's got some credible um, reviews on it. The author is Ashante M. Reese. She is a writer, anthropologist, and associate professor of African and African diaspora studies at the University of Texas at Austin. And she is involved in food justice networks and programs nationwide. She wrote this book, Gather: Black Food, Nourishment, and the Art of Togetherness. And so I'm really looking forward to diving into this book. On Fridays, we have a couple of other books that we are reading currently. We're reading one on finance, and we are reading one on nutrition, which is really important. Um, and so, Gather, if you're looking for books on health and food justice. And then, because this topic has been, I would say, moving cyclically, meaning that we keep returning to this topic over and over again, because we live in a nation that is doubling down on feeling like they don't owe Black people anything. To the point where, of course, a lot of people have heard by now that the assembly that was called for Ghana was the one who sort of pushed the resolution forward about acknowledging the grave crime to humanity that enslavement, particularly the transatlantic slave trade, was. And then you had nations that basically said, nah, we're not going to acknowledge that. We're not going to vote in favor of this resolution. And so I came across two very important books when it comes to reparations. One is by Marcus Anthony Hunter. It is called Radical Reparations: Healing the Soul of a Nation. And he details a framework for moving forward with reparations. He has a whole framework going. So if you're interested in answering the question, what can we do about reparations? How can we create a framework where this is dealt with in our society, in our community? Pick it up. And I have read her first book. Her first book was about the whiteness of wealth and the tax system and how it disadvantages Black families and Black married couples in particular. But she has a new book out as well, Dorothy A. Brown, called Getting to Reparations: How Building a Different America Requires a Reckoning with Our Past. Now, if you have been with us on Thursdays in last season, you know we are currently reading a book on reparations, but we're going to keep reading. We're going to keep reading. Why? Because if we don't read, if we don't learn, if we don't understand, and that's what a lot of these platforms are really determined to make you more ignorant. So we're trying to combat that by actually reading the books out loud for you. So I'm going to go through them again. Getting to Reparations: How Building a Different America Requires a Reckoning with Our Past by Dorothy A. Brown. Radical Reparations: Healing the Soul of a Nation by Marcus Anthony Hunter. Okay. Gather: Black Food, Nourishment, and the Art of Togetherness by Ashante M. Reese. And Martin and Malcolm and America: A Dream or a Nightmare. All right. Now let me get back to why a lot of us have been feeling drained, especially if you are a woman right now in America. The timelines are exhausting. The timelines have been exhausting. What do I mean by that? I told people 2024, I said there is a strong resentment for women in America. I don't think people believe me when I said that. Just like there's a strong anti-child sentiment in America while they're continuing to tell people that they want them to have children. Everything that people are doing outside of a few states is very anti-child. And we might have to get into that because I don't think I have enough time to cover that today. But I said in 2024, I said, this is probably going to be one of the last nations that gets a woman president. Not because we can't find a qualified one, not because America could not utilize a woman president, but because of the way that this country is set up, because of how enmeshed and ingrained patriarchal thought is, not just in our politics, but in people's faith practices and what they ultimately believe about women and their place in the world. It's going to be a moment before we get there. And so when people got upset with former First Lady Michelle Obama saying she doesn't want to run and people are not ready, why are y'all upset with that lady? She was telling the truth. She was telling the truth. Okay? We saw what happened with the November 2024 election. Yes, a lot of things went wrong with that. Yes, she was not given enough time to prove herself, prove her worth for the position, et cetera, et cetera. But the reality was it was a strong anti-woman sentiment. And as much as people wanted her to win, I said, you got to look at reality. If they did not vote Hillary in, if they were not willing to go for Hillary being the president, what made you all think that she had a better chance? I just want y'all to sit with that. I didn't say that she wasn't qualified. I'm talking about looking at the reality of American systems. And people got upset with that. And then I said, whether she wins or whether she loses, Black women in this country, women in general, but Black women in particular in this country are going to feel the backlash and the fallout from women in a lot of people's mindsets, women trying to get above their station in life. People were like, nah, that's you're over the top. You're over the top with your thoughts. And here we are. Here we are over a year later. Am I still over the top with my thoughts? Am I still over the top thinking that there is a backlash against women happening in this country? Black women in particular. Am I still over the top when we see what, close to 600,000 qualified Black women? We're not talking about Black women without qualifications. 600,000 qualified Black women have lost their jobs. Am I still over the top in thinking that we were headed for a backlash? I'm sitting here for a moment. And now, if you've been reading and paying attention to some of the stories that have been coming out, we have been seeing this violent uptick. And I really don't want to call it an uptick because it's been violence against women, but it's more pronounced, right? We've had people saying, well, women just need to choose better. They just need to choose a better partner. I've heard that. Choose better. Okay? They did. And they're still not here. I've heard most recently, as a matter of fact, a celebrity came out and said that Black women do not need to be running off to another country with these white men. White men are the danger, right? Maybe you didn't hear it. I heard it. He did a whole video. White men are the danger. Don't go off to another country with these white men. Okay, Sunday morning, a woman who didn't go off to another country with a white man was shot, and her, 6, 7 children were unalived, along with her sister and other children, and one other child. So she didn't go off to another country with a white man. She's in the United States. Because again, and when I say this is why we're tired, this is why we're tired. Because it's always about something else other than the thing. It's always about something else other than the thing. What is the thing? Patriarchal, toxic, masculine ideals of what it means to be a man. And also, in pairing with that, what it means to be a woman. It's always about something else other than the thing. Recently, somebody sent me a video clip of, I think it was I don't call these people pastors. I don't know what to call them, but I don't call them pastors. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care if pastor is in their first name. I don't care. I don't care. In my book, you are not a pastor if you are anti-human, if you are anti-woman, if you are anti-Black. I don't care that you put pastor in front of your first name. If I hear what's coming out of you is anti-human, anti-human rights, anti-woman, anti-Black, I don't put pastor in front of your name. So I don't call these people pastors. Because what they're putting out into the world is their doctrine under the guise of Christianity. And when I say Christianity, for them, it is with 3 Ks. It's never a C. It's 3 Ks. It's never a C. So, saying that women should not have the right to vote. So if you know they're trying to take away women's right to vote, you know good and well they don't think that women should be senators, congresspersons, vice president, let alone president of the United States. Okay, so let's be very clear. People who have that mindset they're trying to remove women from all positions of what they consider to be authority. Why? Because their doctrine says women should not have authority over men. That's their core doctrine. Women should not have authority over men. Women shouldn't teach men in any capacity. That's their core doctrine that they're operating from. And that doctrine has reached the Orange House, because again, I can't call it the White House. I can't call it an administration. It's the regime in the Orange House over here. That's what we call it. So those ideas, those doctrines have reached the Orange House. And now you're starting to see a little bit of that doctrine starting to seep in. Because even the women who play up to and sort of fall at the feet of this toxic, patriarchal masculinity that Keg Seth is portraying, even those who are like, I'm going to pay homage to this thing, even they are being removed. Even they are being removed. Because at the end of the day, they don't think that they should be in positions of authority over men. So they're doing their best to begin removing women in positions of authority, which should give you a red flag, because we're going somewhere, which should give you a red flag when you see the Orange House choose a Black woman to come into the CDC. Let me take my sip. It should make you pause when this administration chooses somebody who might actually fit the bill of solving something and put them under, what's his name? I don't have a name for him. The walking medical crisis that he is. He is a walking health warning. So it should give you pause to see that. That is an indication probably of how bad he is doing with his own Amagicans. Because again, they're not acting like Americans. Amagicans. We have lots of terms over here, okay? Amagicans. He's got to be doing so terrible with them. And that side of the aisle has to be doing so terrible that they've got to do at least one possibly credible thing by putting her there in the CDC. But that also makes me concerned because now I'm asking myself, what is actually coming that we're going to need her to come fix it? Because if you don't know her background, go ahead and look at her background. A part of her background was she was the sole person that was running all of those, like the drive-through testing that people were doing at one point, where you could drive through and get the swabs and all that. She was running that whole thing and signing off on it. So that gives me pause to say, what is coming that they're actually putting somebody in place who's probably going to actually be able to help us survive it. Because they don't do anything. They're not doing that haphazardly. I don't think that they're doing that haphazardly. So get yourself together, get your mask. We already know that there's a strand of the CVID thing that has been brought in by South Africans. Now, I don't know if it's the South Africans that, he brought over here and then abandoned and then they went back. I don't know if they brought it, but there is a strand that is here, that is deadly, that comes from South Africa. Do with that what you will, but I will encourage you to put your mask on and make sure that you're protecting yourself in these moments. All right. I am at the halfway mark. I'm trying to see what else I want to say because I do want to be, I want my words to be words that help. So yes, we are tired. I am tired of people pretending that they did not know what was going to happen. I'm very thankful in real life. I don't have people around me that are saying they didn't know. I would say I have the privilege of being in spaces where white people get it. But so many of us do not have that. So many of us do not have that. So many of us do not have spaces that we're in where we have allies. And I use that word very loosely. I personally call them John Brown energy folks, people who will go to the wall for you, people who stand 10 toes down about the rights of Black people and Black women. Some of us are not in those spaces at all. And so, yeah, people are hearing, I'm sorry, I didn't know. I didn't know this was going to be the outcome. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. So we need to move. People need to move from denial to, I knew this was going to happen, but I didn't know it was going to be me. I knew this was going to happen, but I didn't know it was going to affect my favorite Black people. I knew this was going to happen, but I didn't know that the Black people that I work with, the Black people that I go out with, the Black people that are now a part of my family through relational ties, I didn't know it was going to hit that close to home. I didn't know that they were going to pick up my spouse and ship them off because I thought they were just doing this to the people that I deemed criminal. I thought they were just going to do this to the people I didn't like. People need to get very honest about what they thought this was going to be. Because if you can't get honest about that, people do not want to hear from you. They do not want to hear from you. Okay? So some of the people in your circles who voted for this knew there was going to be harm. They just didn't think it was going to come close to their home. I.e., Caitlyn Jenner. Prime example. Oh, so you mean to tell me that law applies to me too? Yes, it absolutely applies to you. Project 2025, as we shared before, is really the culmination of things they have been doing. And how can I tell you this? I could tell you this because back in 2013 to 2014, I was invited to some of those conservative circles. I have friends that are Black conservatives who said, hey, we're having this meeting. Why don't you come and see what it's about? I didn't really understand the difference between republicanism and conservatism until I went to those meetings. And they were cordial. Some of them was like, what are these people, Black people doing here? But I got invited into some of those meetings. I was in one of the meetings where the attorneys were getting together to decide how they were going to challenge Roe v. Wade. I came out of that meeting and I told the Black church and I told all the ministers that I knew at the time, I said, they are planning to reverse civil rights. They are planning to strip people of their civil rights. They looked at me like I was crazy. They didn't believe it. They just went on about their business, clapping their hands, stomping their feet, shouting hallelujah. And I told them back in 2013, this was the plan. Because I heard it. I was in the room. They were talking about Roe v. Wade. They were talking about stacking the courts. They've been talking about that since 2013, 2014. And I told them, I said, if we do not get ahead of this, if you all do not start warning people, this is going to happen. Now, at that time, I didn't know about Project 2025. I didn't know that they were gathering this data. I don't think they had that solid of a plan back then, but I could see what was coming because I was there in the room and I heard them. So I get out of that meeting and I do what I know to do, which is to warn Black people what is coming. Not just me, my husband and I. We warned. We warned. We taught on it. We did seminars. We did sermons. You can go look at our playlists on YouTube where we are literally laying this stuff out, talking about it, warning people. People didn't want to hear that because they didn't think it was possible for our courts to get to the place that they're at. They didn't think so. They didn't think that it was possible for our Supreme Court to betray the American people the way they are betraying the American people right now. But they told us in that meeting what they were getting ready to do. Because they knew if they stacked the courts, they could start flipping and overturning things that they didn't want, that they never wanted. Because let's not get it twisted. These are the grandchildren, the children, the great-grandchildren of the Jim Crow, of the segregationists, of the White Citizens Council, of the Daughters of Confederacy. These people have not gone away, and I don't know why we think they have, but they have not. Back in 2012, I worked under a daughter of the Confederacy, and she was a piece of work. Yeah. Racial microaggressions every single day. To the point where when I left that space, I took 4 years sabbatical from teaching. That's how bad it was. Because I had to detox. I had to detox. So these are, again, the children of the original system who have decided that they're going to honor their ancestors while they're telling you yours is demonic, by the way. They're going to honor their ancestors by making sure that they do everything they can to subjugate or attempt to subjugate the future that they cannot stop. Because they know they cannot stop it, but they want to try to position themselves so that those who are coming will always be in subjugation to them, even if they are no longer the majority. So that's what these laws are about. That's what these statutes are about. That's what stacking the courts are about. Because even if they no longer hold the majority population, they want to enshrine pseudo supremacy into law and embed it in so deep that it won't matter if they're not in the positions of power because the system will still run itself. You see? The system will still run itself when you dismantle the Department of Education on the federal level. The system will still run itself when you close civil rights offices in the various departments federally. The system will still run itself when you have nowhere to report the injustices that will be carried out in the future. And as Leslie is saying here on my YouTube channel, which is absolutely correct, it is about Jim Crow enforcement or non-enforcement for those with privilege. And so when we say we are tired, we are bone deep tired, we are soul tired. This is what we're talking about. I was joking with a friend a couple years ago and I said, you know, I feel like I need to write a book called 1,001 Ways to Kill Black People and Smile While Doing it. Because that's what I feel like America is on. I feel like every day we wake up, there is another way to disenfranchise Black life in America, particularly. Not saying it's not happening all over the world. But that's how I feel. I feel like every day I get up, there's yet another thing another law, another issue, another bill put forth to see how deep we can bury Black people and their progress. Yeah, that's how I feel. And I'm just like, you can do all you want to try to bury us, but you keep forgetting that we are seeds. You keep forgetting that. Like, I just want to say, can you just stop for a moment? Can you just pause? What are you so afraid of? What are you so afraid of? I've never seen somebody who actually believed they were superior be this fearful of someone who they think is inferior. Have you? If you know that you are the best of 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 the best, why are you this fearful? Why are you afraid of any measure of competition? Why are you afraid of equaling the playing? I don't understand it. You are the one who says you are superior. Superior people don't act like this. Have y'all seen anybody who is superior? Superior people know that they're literally in a whole class of their own. Like nobody is touching them. They don't act like this. Superior people don't do this stuff. Which is why I keep calling it pseudo supremacy. Because there's nothing superior about any of the things that you are enacting. All of it says fear, 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 fear mongering, fear mongering, fear mongering, fear mongering. Fear of replacement. Superior people are not fearful of being replaced because, again, they know they're in a class of their own. I'm just, by your own wording, I'm trying to understand, if you say you're superior, why are you afraid? Somebody help me to understand. I'm trying to figure out what I'm missing because I don't know anything that is superior that's looking back at what is not. Anybody? Anybody? Bueller, Bueller, Bueller. So people have to deal with their fears. And I don't know that the people in this country are going to get to that point to where they deal with their fears. I feel like we have a government that feeds on people's fears. And because of that, because you are afraid that somebody's going to take something from you that they could never take from you, that's part of where we are. That's part of why we are the way we are. We have a lot of fearful people. And sadly, the things that we need to fear, we don't. We don't. What do we need to fear? While people have been afraid of Black people, while people have been afraid in calling Black people criminal elements in our society, you all let, and maybe not my followers, but you all let a few young people under the age of 22, I think, right? You all let a few young people steal the data of 300 give or take, million Americans. We don't know who, when Black people say who got the body, we don't know who got the data. We don't know who has our data, who has the social security numbers, who has the personal account numbers of hundreds of millions of Americans. But y'all not afraid of that. I don't know. These people have walked off with our personal data, and we don't know who has it. They locked our own government out of the buildings while they were siphoning off all of our personal data. Again, we don't know who has our data. We don't know what they're doing with our data. We don't know if they're replicating the identities of 300 million Americans. We don't know. But they aren't afraid of that. Wild. We live in some wild times. Wild. So, I want to thank you all for your time and for your attention. I will only be on YouTube. No, I will only be on Facebook on Mondays. But if you want to join me for the rest of the week, I am on my YouTube page. I will be there around 10 a.m. No later than 10:10. We'll start around 10 a.m. Monday through Friday. We are double screening today, YouTube and Facebook. But the rest of the week, I will be on YouTube, and we will get to reading. But I wanted to just come and share and talk today as we start this new season. Please take care of yourself. If you are a woman right now, I know some of you have heard about the Academy of 6 million men registered for the Academy. 6 million men registered to figure out how they could do harm to their wives. And let's be very clear, it's not just wives. If they would do this to a wife, they would do this to a daughter, a niece. Okay. But for the sake of the reporting, this academy where 6 million men signed up to figure out how to drug and intimately assault the person closest to them, with 62 million views, is an indication that we are not safe. And so I encourage you to take care of yourself. Make sure you are in a community of women that look out for each other. I've shared about this before. When I was a freshman in college, my second semester of my freshman year, I was drugged and intimately assaulted. And so you're not going to see a lot of those kind of stories on my page simply because it is triggering to me. I will share other people who are reporting on it in detail, but it's triggering to me. Number one, because I did what I thought was right. I reported it. When people say, well, why did you wait so long? I didn't wait so long. I reported it. I went to trial. I was not believed. That person got off and likely did it again. And so when you ask the question about why women don't report, a lot of times it's because the same outcome happens whether they report or not. So I report it. But I empathize with the millions of women out here who are dealing with this. And then to have this be revealed, that there's whole academies on how to do this. Now, my case, when it happened, the person got off because at the time there was no law around drugging people and intimately assaulting them. However, because of my case, the same year my case, later in the year, the state of Florida passed a law about consent and it being considered intimate assault if you are doing something with a person who is intoxicated. And in my case, I was drugged, so I could not have given you consent. But that law was added, and from that point on, cases had a different outcome. But that was before my case. All right. And so when I see that, and I try to tell people, I'm like, listen, this is happening. This is happening. So to see that there's a whole freaking academy going on of how to do this to women and get away with it, that's triggering. It's very triggering. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and read some comments here as we are signing out. I want to make sure that I respond to any comments. Good morning, Pat Shirley. Good morning, Lewis Jones. Good morning, Lady Shantae, We Dare Squad. Good morning, Vaughn Shea. Good morning, Karen Wingett. Let me see, do I see any other names? All right, let me read some comments here. Neurodivergence, being your own self without masking. Absolutely. I love libraries. I do too. Let's see here. I date librarians or former librarians almost primarily. I love words so much. Okay. So you're probably a sapiosexual. Team sapiosexuals unite. Let's see what else we have here. You're welcome for the book recommendations. Everything that is pro-man is anti-woman and anti-child. Something to think about. Let's see. I've not thought about a new backlash because of the possibility of a female president until this moment. I think you are right. I think that's exactly what has happened. I do. Your words help a lot. Glad they're helpful. It's always about something else other than the thing. Yes. This keeps skipping back up. Yes, you keep trying to bury us, but you keep forgetting we are seeds. Absolutely. I have good pattern recognition. Where is it? I have good pattern recognition and they didn't realize it. Let me tell you, pattern recognition can be the bane of your existence. It can. Because you're often seeing things before people see it. And when you try to tell people what you see, they oftentimes get annoyed with you. And they say, you think you know it all. No, I actually don't, but I see a pattern. Thank you. Everyone who's ever been film presenting or experienced the world as a woman really needs to take care of themselves right now. Absolutely. And thank you for your care. All right. I do have some writings out there. One is called GPS Girl Power Safety. I wrote it for young girls when I was teaching middle school girls at an all-girls school at one point. And they were asking for safety tips to keep themselves safe. Most of those tips are still, what do you call it? Relatable or still relevant. That's the word I'm looking for. Most of those tips are still relevant. I have reposted them again. I'll probably post them again in the comment section after we end today. You gotta look around and do what you can to keep yourself safe. That's where we are. We would love for there to be more groups of men. I did post on my page today about a film documenting a group of men who is working with men about violent prevention and working on men. We need more of that. We need more men stepping up to say, this is not manhood. Let's walk you through what healthy manhood looks like. We need more of that. All right, let me read my YouTube comments here. Talking in reference to Kamala, Kamala had so little time and her campaign was structured for her. Absolutely. Overqualified, yes. Black people get told that often. It just means we don't plan to hire you. They didn't believe the cruelty they got to practice would ever come back for them. Yes. Mm-hmm. I read Project 2025 out loud to people, Leslie says, and they still didn't hear it. They did not hear it because they thought they were exempt. I have felt like Chicken Little saying the sky is falling since 2016. Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. All right. I want to thank you all for your time and your attention. I do not take it for granted when people come in and listen. You don't have to. There are millions of other people that you could be listening to, other people you could be sharing, celebrities you could be tuning into, but you came and you shared your time with me. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. This has been another episode of Daring Dialogues, and I've been your host, Shantae Charles. It's been a Black Table Talk edition. Remember, light is the most daring opposition to any evil. So I encourage you to go out and be light. We need you in this world. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. Take care, be well, and most importantly, be light. Appreciate you, Leslie. Take care, be well, and be light.